Music impacts me personally, like really influenced by music quite easily. So whenever like music comes by and I listen to it, like music that actually has been played with emotions and everything, I can feel what they feel, and it helped me cope with a lot of like problems that really happen in my life. Kind of helps me express like emotions in a way. Like I don't have to keep it all bottled up inside and everything. I can communicate more effectively through music because I don't know how to really handle emotions because I never really had the chance to, or never got to learn how to. So music was a way that like I can express emotions through music better than actually trying to express emotions like physically, show people I'm sad or tell them like that, because it's so much harder.
I feel this hunger of wanting to, and I felt this hunger early on of really wanting to break a cycle. He could characterize himself as a victim pretty easily, but he's chosen to always find his way back into the light.
Each segment I wanted to make for my piece was like a bit of my life. Most of the time I have like trouble against trying to fit in and have this sense of belonging with people. Because I came from a reservation and everyone knew each other as a close-knit, people cared for each other and we had this sense of belonging to each other and everything. And then I moved to a city. So that's the first part of my song, was like this feeling of belonging and having all these people together. But then the city comes and there's the struggles with alcohol addiction, drug addiction comes in after that. And I wanted the people to know that this is hard and everything, but at the same time I wanted people to know that just because you may be one person and stuff like that, it's like we all are connected in a way and we all can impact each other quite heavily.
I knew that there would be one opportunity for him to tell this to the main group, and that was on a talent night on the last night. And so without anything ready at all, I suggested that Tristan go sign up for the talent show. You could hear people breathing, it was so quiet. When he finished with a repeat of the opening line, there's this kind of dumbfounded silence. And then the room erupted. And this kid who's been invisible most of his life, all his life, he had, because of his own abilities, had put himself right in the focus of a parabola of people who by this time are standing and cheering and crying and going crazy in support of what was a heroic act, a very courageous act. And I was just sitting there in awe of a kid who had strength and wisdom way, way, way beyond his years. And the courage to tell a remarkable story.
I can't connect people one-on-one super easy, but I can talk to crowds easy. And I want to find a way to bridge the gap between the both and actually express like emotions and make people feel, and really telling the truth about the reality of intergenerational trauma and reconciliation, and that we can like see people the happiest and everything. I can be the happiest, like acting that way and everything, and people would never know that I had a terrible life story sometimes. And I just wanted to bring it out in the open to these people who were all supportive of me. And my dad always told me that persistence is the key. Like, you need to be persistent if you want a goal and you want to achieve it. You just gotta keep working at it. I like to think that reconciliation is a way to help like inform the public and people who may not know much about like Aboriginal culture, and the stereotypes aren't really true, and we help destroy these barriers between people.
In the particulars of Tristan's story is a kind of a universal message about trying and persisting, getting up when you get knocked down. But there's also a kind of a universality to the story, because it doesn't matter what knocks you down. I mean, in his case, there were some very specific things that had to do with alcohol abuse and that kind of thing in his family. But we all encounter difficulties along the way, and rising through them is an absolutely critical thing to do if you're going to get where you're going to get. And here's a kid who's, he's 18, he's going to be 19 in February, and he's getting to where he needs to get to. And that's inspiring in a very profound way.
My name is Tristan Bent, and I'm a proud Okanagan Carrier-Sakani man from Tackle Lake First Nation, and this is my story. Tackle Lake was good to live in, a really small, beautiful place. I had no worries of anything, no worries about being an adult. Sometimes my mom would be here, but most of the time, gone for months, so I spent a lot of time with my grandmother down the hill. She cooked for me and I cooked for her. She made me feel loved and kept me safe. My mom's alcohol addiction was getting worse and worse, and the thing that got me the most is that I actually enjoyed Christmases with other families instead of my own. One day, without warning, we moved to Prince George, a home to another world. I had to leave my best friend without really saying goodbye. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. It was normal for a while. I met my best friend in online chat rooms, but I'd always turn off my microphone or pretend to leave because my mother and stepfather were fighting. It was incredibly hard. Prince George, Duchess Park, a lot of racism there. No one knew that, but I knew that. I felt this sense of unbelonging. My cousin introduced me to this girl. At first, I never told her what my life was like. Finally, I was gonna open up and tell her. The next day, I moved to Kelowna. No goodbyes. The new principal looked at me and said, "Are you gonna give me any trouble?" I stared at him and said, "You tell me." It was a terrible first impression. The lady there said, "Oh, you're First Nations." She was trying to cheer me up, but it wasn't enough to overcome this anger, this hatefulness towards everything. She took me to this little room, the Aboriginal room, where people can go and feel safe from everything. But we started doing these Aboriginal art projects. I still have them today. Paintings and stories. They helped me cope. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. Every night, my mother and stepfather would fight, and I'd have to try to break them apart. My mother would turn on me and say I was siding with him. My brother and I would say, "Stop drinking," and she would say, "Why do you keep saying that?" And we would say, "It's because you're drunk." She wouldn't get the message. So I'd go home to this crazy house of chaos. I'd stay up most of the nights. My eyes would be black, tired and heavy. The stress was easily visible on my face. One day, the lady who introduced me to the Aboriginal program, she pulled me aside and said, "You don't look so well. Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah,
I'm alright. What makes you think that? She looked at me and said, you look really ill or stressed out. I looked at her and said, no, there's nothing wrong. I said that with a smile on my face. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. Finally, my sister and dad reached out from Calgary. They phoned and said, come for spring break. I wasn't sure. I remember 2 hard years with my dad. He was an alcoholic and drug addict too. He was abusive. My sister said, trust me, he's not the same violent guy you remember. He's changed. So I said, all right, Dad, I'll come and visit. I went to visit them in Calgary. Most of the time I hid in the basement playing video games, not realizing how stable this family was. When I went back to Kelowna, the thing that hurt the most was the fact that they turned my room into a storage closet. She knew I was coming back. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. I went back to my dad's at Christmas. That's when the moment of realization happened. This is what a real family is supposed to be like. When I left, my father said, you always have a place to stay. I went back to my mom's and realized it was wrecking me. Psychologically, physically, traumatizing me all the time. It was really hard on me. So one day I called my dad. Hello, he said, and I said, I'm done. He said, are you sure you're done? And I said, yes, I'm done. When do you want me to pick you up? Now. He said, give me a second. Then he said, all right, your uncle's gonna come and get you. When I told her I was leaving, my mom swore and told me what a waste I was, and that I wouldn't amount to nothing. She did everything she could to bring me down, but after she just said, go ahead, leave. For the first time in a long time, it got quiet. Sitting there was no sound whatsoever. And it was really uneasy, until I heard the truck outside. I left wearing nothing but the clothes on my back and the black leather jacket my older brother gave to me before he went to jail. Wear this, he said, that will give you strength. I realized I was losing my identity, walking away from everything I had known. But in that truck, I thought to myself, maybe nothing could be a good thing, because if I'm nothing now, I can become something again. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. When you're a blank sheet again, you're free to make something else. That's what I felt when I got to Calgary. My dad stepped towards me, and I backed up with my hands clenched into fists. But instead of hitting me, he hugged me. That was the best feeling that I've had in my entire life. And that's when life started getting better. I got to meet these 2 little brothers of mine, and I got to experience a family for what it is. A real family for once. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. At my new school, I found the Council for Aboriginal Students and Allies. Ever since then, I became passionate about reconciliation, because 'cause they gave me a voice. Through CASA, they introduced me to the 4Rs. We went to a camp in the mountains west of Calgary. We did all these activities to bring us closer, help break down barriers and diminish stereotypes. The thing that got me the most is when we stood together and passed around a ball of rainbow-colored yarn. We created a web, everyone was holding it, and when someone moved, it affected everyone else. They said you may be one person, but you can have a big effect on everyone else. We're all connected. Ball of twine, ball of twine, rainbow ball of twine. It was actually the second time that I had this feeling of belonging that I had only felt when I hugged my dad. I had became emotional after that. Because in my 18 years I've traveled from belonging to unbelonging to belonging again in a world that now includes family. I am fortunate and I am happy. My name is Tristan Bent, and I'm a proud Okanagan Carrier-Sicanni man from Tackler Lake First Nation. And this is my story.